I don't have any sympathy for people who will go out of their way to hurt, murder, and abuse children. I want y'all to hear this story. Look at this lady's face. That is the face of evil. Let's talk about this story. Let me give you a disclaimer before we get into the details. So I want you to brace yourselves. The details are going to be pretty eye-opening. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And our source for this story is azfamily.com. So thank you for the article. It's relatively short, but let's talk about what she did. There are disturbing new details in a horrific case of child abuse, so brace yourselves for the details. If you can't handle it, I understand if you need to go elsewhere, but I think that in the true crime community, we owe it to these babies to hear their stories. Please share them, okay? Police in Phoenix say 3 children under the age of 16 years old escaped an apartment where they'd been tied up and beaten and ran to a neighbor for help. So I'm glad they were able to get some help. Detectives arrested Sarah Canez, that fool that you guys see on my screen, a female relative, on accusations of felony child abuse and kidnapping. We've discovered other children in that same home, and their father is trying to find them. The man we met, who we aren't identifying, was knocking on the door looking for Sarah Canez on Thursday. He was unaware she had been arrested for severe child abuse for children under 16 years of age 3 days ago. So you'll see that video, you'll see it. His heart sank because he came there Thursday looking for his own children who had been staying with Canez since Sunday. I'm scared for all of them, but I'm just really trying to go find my children. I'm glad you found me, so now I have direction to go look, the man told true crime correspondent Brianna Whitney. He said his children are 6 and 3 years old, and Canez is their aunt. So yes, she is an evil witch. She is an evil aunt. Y'all got that right in the chat. He said the victims in this case were living with Canez, their relative. I thought everything was going good. It was beautiful in there. There was furniture, everything. I got really nice bunk beds for them all. It looked like everything was going well for her, the man said. The bunk beds mentioned in the court documents, and authorities claimed that the kids were zip-tied to the bunk beds. The reports detailed horrific abuse. The 3 victims escaped the apartment and ran to a neighbor for help. He then eventually told police that the abuse entailed being struck with a gun. They were tased in their private parts. So they were choked, beaten, nearly suffocated with plastic bags, and some details are so graphic we won't mention them, but I'm going to tell you guys, they were also allegedly sexually assaulted. The victims recalled Canez saying that she was going to kill them. The oldest victim says Canez believed the siblings were inappropriately touching her daughters, but the victim told detectives that that never happened, and I believe the kids. The father said that he had planned to pick up his own kids and give Canez money to help with all the child care after receiving his paycheck on Thursday. I've been trying to call them for a week just to see how they're doing and see if they were ready to come home, and got no answer. Arizona's family asked Phoenix police where his kids are. They said DCS also took his kids. Now, as he works to reunite with his kids, there is a fear, too, that they may have suffered horror inside that apartment. I wouldn't want to even describe publicly how I feel if they were harmed, he said. Canez now faces 12 counts of child abuse, 5 counts of aggravated assault, and 2 counts of kidnapping. She's being held on a $250,000 cash-only bond. Let me give you guys the fair usage, and let you take a look at the news videos. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. If you guys are in any true crime groups, you can share these stories. We love to get these stories out there. Please make sure you share them. We'll keep this really short. Here we go. Let's get it.
At 9 with a horrific case of child abuse, Phoenix police say 33-year-old Sarah Canez kidnapped her niece and her nephews and subjected them to just horrible crimes.
The disturbing details are just beyond belief. Police documents say that she zip-tied the children and she's accused of subjecting them to sexual abuse. Fox 10's Kenzie Beach joins us live after speaking exclusively with the family that saved these kids.
Yeah, Ellen and John, these kids had already lost their mother and were living with their aunt at the time of this abuse. The person responsible for protecting them was the one that threatened to kill them. We want to warn you that some of these details are really hard to hear.
Damn like that, and the kids were just like with their eyes wide open, and they're like, please, please, abuela. It's like, you're safe, you're safe.
3 kids, ages 16, 10, and 7, escaped from their aunt running to a neighbor's door in the early morning of June 17th.
She rushed inside, really scared. What did she have in her hand? She had scissors in her hand, huh?
As the 16-year-old girl was screaming, pleading for help, the neighbor noticed physical trauma on both little boys.
Bruises all over his body, more on his face, on the side of his face. And then he had zip ties on his hands. He barely can even walk. He was really pale. He said that he didn't eat for days.
The mother herself was in shock, immediately calling 911.
I was like, I wanted to cry because I wouldn't want to see any kids like that.
After a search warrant on 33-year-old Sarah Chanez's apartment, police found a handgun, tasers, zip ties, a knife, plastic bags, and wooden objects. Everything the kids tell police Chanez used to abuse them, much of it in a sexual nature.
There's nobody around to protect them.
The 16-year-old girl told neighbors.
Oh, no, we ain't skipping that. She said most of it in a sexual nature. Y'all catch that? Sexual deviant, that's the face. That's the face of evil. Let's hear that again.
33-year-old Sarah Chanez's apartment, police found a handgun, tasers, zip ties, a knife, plastic bags, and wooden objects. Everything the kids tell police Chanez used to abuse them, much of it in a sexual nature. Chanez used to abuse them, much of it in a sexual nature. Chanez used to abuse them, much of it in a sexual nature. Everything the kids tell police Chanez used to abuse them, much of it in a sexual nature.
There's nobody around to protect them.
The 16-year-old girl.
So she's a sexual deviant, sexually abusing these kids.
Told neighbors it was her mom's voice that encouraged her to escape.
She dreamed her mom's telling her to save her brothers and that to run here.
Yes, they need to absolutely bump up the charges. Rape charges, all of that. All of it.
We were going to help her.
Chanez was arrested and told police she couldn't care for the children anymore and could not deal with it.
She couldn't care for the children anymore and she can't deal with it. So what does she choose to do? Sexually abuse the kids? How much freaking sense does that make? I want to cuss so bad. I be doing good, y'all. I'm trying my best to try to keep my monetization, but it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge. I can't keep any videos monetized at all. But that just don't make no damn sense. She couldn't deal with it, so you sexually abused them? Like, how does that even make any sense? You chose to bring them in there. I think this is... So in my opinion, here's what I believe. I believe that she was probably recording this, probably on video, probably uploading it somewhere to the black market, probably trying to get paid off of this. I think there's way more to this. Way more.
Happenstance. We didn't know that that person was going to be there. We were here trying to gather some information, and all of a sudden we see this man. So it was kind of surprising, and we know from reading the report it is just horrific, to the point where I think this is one of the worst child abuse cases I have ever covered. A warning, the details are graphic tonight. The children, thankfully still alive after all police say they went through at the hands of Sarah Canez. And as we were at the apartment complex just trying to follow up, a man we did not recognize walked up to the door where this abuse reportedly happened.
This man, who we aren't identifying, looking for Sarah Kanyas Thursday, unaware she had been arrested for severe child abuse for children under 16 3 days ago. His heart sank because he came here today looking for his own children who have been staying with Kanyas since Sunday.
I'm scared for all of them, but I'm just really trying to go find my children. I'm glad that you found me so I could at least have a direction to go look.
He says his children are 6 and 3 years old, and Kanyas is their aunt. He says the victims in this case were living with Kanyas, their relative.
Thought everything was going good. It was really beautiful in there. There were new furniture, everything. Just got really nice bunk beds for them all, and it looked like everything was turning good for her.
The bunk beds, mentioned in the court documents, claim that the kids were zip-tied to them. The report details horrific abuse, the 3 victims escaping the apartment and running to a neighbor's for help, eventually telling police the abuse entailed being struck with a gun, tased in their private parts, choked, beaten, nearly suffocated with plastic bags, and some details so graphic we won't mention them. The victims recalled Kanyas saying she was going to kill them. The oldest victim said Kanyas believed the siblings were inappropriately touching her daughters, but that victim told detectives that never happened. This father said he had planned to pick up his own kids and give Kanyas money to help with all the child care after receiving his paycheck today.
So let's just say that we go with her logic. So these kids were inappropriately touching her kids. So what does she do? Inappropriately touch them? Is that what she's trying to claim? And that's supposed to make sense? She couldn't deal with it anymore, so then she just went and just did anything and everything that she wanted to do to them sexually. That makes no sense.
No, I've been trying to call them all week just to see how they're doing and see if they're ready to come home, and nah.
No answer.
No answer.
I asked Phoenix police tonight where his kids are. They tell me they were also taken by DCS. Now, as he works to reunite with his kids, there's fear they too may have suffered horror inside that apartment.
I wouldn't even want to describe publicly how I feel if they were harmed.
Sarah Kanyas was charged with 12 counts of child abuse, 5 counts of aggravated assault, and 2 counts of kidnapping. She's being held right now on a $250,000 cash-only bond, guys.
I mean, this father who showed up there, clearly he must have thought his kids were safe there. After hearing the description of this police report from you, did he in his mind say, oh, maybe I saw some warning signs, anything?
Yeah, so I asked him that, what do you know about Sarah? You've obviously had contact, you've left your kids here. Have you seen any warning signs? And he said, no, he said he's never seen Sarah hit her kids, but did say that he had seen her be stern with punishment, but never thought that it was anything like this. And I felt awful. I mean, we were telling him and showing him with the court documents what was in there. And we were so disturbed by what we read. A lot of it we couldn't even put on TV, but you could just see his eyes so frantic. And so I've been in contact with him because he was saying, hey, if you find out anything about my kids, please let me know. And so this is a situation we're not usually in. So that's how Phoenix Police was the one that told me they were taken by DCS along with the other kids. And that's where he needs to go contact to find them. But I mean, just what an awful situation all around the board.
I just can't imagine detectives describing young kids with bruises all over their body, their face, and just some horrific details of what happened in that house. We hope that they're getting the help that they need tonight.
Yes.
Look, I'm not trying to victim shame against that man, but to not have seen your kids for all this time, for whatever period of time it is, and he just didn't know anything. Maybe he doesn't know anything. I just think it's really weird. But nonetheless, this woman was the one doing all of this stuff. None of her story makes any sense. Thank God this is a bittersweet story because all these children survived. They made it out. They'll be able to grow up and still become something great. Keep them in your prayers, and they can recover. They can recover from this. I truly, truly believe that. This woman deserves a life sentence with no possibility of return. Thank you guys so much for listening to this story. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. That's what it's for. Let's talk about this, okay? Thank you.